Is your child preparing to play fall sports this season? Do you have a young athlete who's dealing with soreness or injuries? Or do you want to know best practices to keep your little athlete safe this season? Please stick around. You won't want to miss my next guest. Welcome back, everyone. Listen, with the seasons changing, kiddos heading back to school, this is a perfect time to prepare all you parents out there for the fall sports season. And there is no better person to chat with than my next guest. I'm delighted to welcome in old friend, owner of Perfect Motion Sports Therapy, Dr. Kevin McGovern. Kevin, welcome in.
Hey, Ben, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, I've been looking forward to talking to you. And of course, we go back a few years, but it has been a while since been able to chat with you. So this is a lot of fun to have you on.
And I actually forgot that you reminded me that you actually came to my facility. I do remember that day. That was great.
Yeah, that was a little while
That
ago,
was a bit of time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we had former Red Sox was there too. Who was it that was there?
Oh, the pitcher. Yeah.
Oh,
Lenny DiNardo.
Lenny DiNardo. That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Best hair in the industry, man. That
I
guy
bet
has.
he still does. He does.
Awesome.
He's got that like Paul O'Neill for hair. Yeah, perfect hair. Perfect hair.
Sure,
Yep.
for sure. Well, before we dive in, how's the summer been for you here? We are Labor Day already.
Yeah, I know. It's been busy. Actually, was away, kind of doing my other niche of baseball pitching. I did a week-long camp in North Carolina. I actually flew back on July 4th, so the summer just kind of like flew by. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, crazy. And you have kiddos back to school, high school now?
Yeah,
So
I've got two girls. One is entering her senior year, and thank God she is in a bunch of AP classes and got her AP grades, and they were off the charts. So she's entering her senior year, but is technically a sophomore in college in credit, which is great. That means I'm not going to have to pay for some.
Oh,
and then
money in the bank.
Yes, and then my little one is entering 8th grade. So yeah, it's great.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, my kiddo's off to kindergarten this year. We did the first bus ride on Monday, the kindergarten orientation.
Cherish those moments, because when you blink your eye, they'll be going into high school and not listening to you.
It's what I hate about Facebook already. You go onto Facebook and they send you these, this is you 4 years ago. And there I am, holding my little baby. It's like, how the time flies. It's nuts.
Time goes very, very quickly. Very quickly. Yep.
Well, Kevin, tell us a little bit about this journey of you becoming a physical therapist, starting your own business, Perfect Motion Sports Therapy. Tell us a bit about that and kind of what inspired you to get into this field.
Yeah, so like a lot of therapists, I had a catastrophic knee injury in high school when I was a sophomore. I went down to the YMCA to play a little pickup basketball in between studying for exams. Went for a layup. Some guy pushed me in the back, came down, and changed my life. ACL, MCL, meniscal tear, and went through all of that, and it was crazy. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, and I went to my eye doctor of all places, and he's like, "Yeah, so what are you going to go to?" So I applied to colleges. I applied for physical therapy, and then for law, and I had them down to two schools. Okay. So I am, as you know, a diehard Yankee fan. So I had Fordham University, which is about a pitching wedge away from Yankee Stadium, all teed up, 6 years straight through law program, or Northeastern University, a 5-iron away from Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Physical therapy. And my eye doctor's like, "Oh, wow, my brother-in-law's studying for the bar. Have you ever seen how thick those books are?"
Yeah.
"Mom, we're going to Northeastern." And that was it. And then, I was always kind of entrepreneurial. In college, I started my own business in college. I became a bar promoter, getting people to show up at different bars, and I literally put myself through school my last 3 years. And
wow.
So I always knew I wanted to, do my thing, and it's probably too much of a jerk to work for someone else. They probably hate me. So I did that for a little while, and then I've been in business in some shape or form since 1999. So yeah.
Awesome stuff. And yeah, as you referenced, I had that chance a few years ago to be at your clinic, see kind of the work you do. You are absolutely the guru of the arm for baseball players. I was just amazing to see just how you could take a kid who's struggling or sore to pitching perfectly and using that. But just Give us like the macro level, the 10,000-foot view of your kind of primary specialty when it comes to arms.
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I went to Northeastern, where the N stands for knowledge. Although not now, it's a pretty hard to get into now. So I always want to take the simplest approach, right? I think that the world has gotten too complicated, and we overcomplicate everything, right? But at the end of the day, there's only one way to move, right? A to B to C to D. Movement's math, right? There's a specific equation. Everything else is wrong, just like math. There's only one right answer.
Correct.
And I just started really, I kind of fell into the baseball thing where, I played baseball all through men's leagues in high school, and ended up stopped playing when I was 44. And, people just came to me, and, for a couple years, I was the head physical therapist of an independent baseball team. So I had those guys. So I just kind of like fell into this, and I got, the guys in independent league, I'm sure hockey is the same way. They're almost outcasts, and a lot of them are injured, right? So in this, I was the Nashua Pride, which is now defunct, but they had 6 first-round draft picks on the team when I was there, which is that's and a few guys that made the majors, all done, all hurt.
Yeah.
So some of them brought in their manual from other teams, right? And you kind of what you know, and then you know what you don't know. So I started looking at this. I'm like, are these the things that they had you do? Oh yeah. What do you think? I'm like, I literally would do just the opposite. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah. These exercises are actually hurting your shoulder. In a million years, I would never give you this, whether you were injured, nothing. And that's really when this kind of started. Like, guys were doing the wrong things, and then I start looking at mechanics, and I just start looking like, oh my god, this is just wrong from a literally basic movement level. And that's really where it came out of.
Yeah, I don't watch baseball the same way after being in your clinic and, going through some of that, seeing you work, seeing these pitchers, just their arm angles way behind their body. It's amazing more of these guys aren't getting hurt. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, and this whole really started when I got into, I guess I'm sure there's fantasy hockey, right? So there's, there's big time fantasy baseball, and I had never really played, and some people in my office were doing, oh, you got to play. I'm like, look, I'll be like the guy that like, can I split a team? Could I be in the back somewhere? Like, oh yeah. Be on my. So, we would go to the draft, and like, oh, we're gonna draft Johan Santana. No, don't draft him. Why? I'm like, because he's going to get hurt. Like, what do you mean he's going to get hurt? I'm like, he just signed a huge contract with the Mets. Dude, trust me, he's going to get hurt. So it started like that, of me predicting injury to build our fantasy baseball team. And that's where this came. And I've knock on wood, which is a bad thing to be able to predict this because it's kind of morbid. But that's where all this started, where I just started looking at someone like, yeah, he can't last like this. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff what you're doing down there, and we see this all over the country now. You see it on YouTube, on Facebook, all these velocity camps around the country, and these kids just horrible mechanics. Just how fast can you throw? Like how god awful are these camps?
Awful. I mean, I can't. Listen. Here, and it's literally, they're better marketers than I have been, right? They're because And there's, for those who don't know, there are overseas bots that will, when you put a post up, they'll automatically sprinkle it with 3,000 likes, because I follow some of these people, and they'll put a post, and as soon as a post comes up, I look at it, all of a sudden they have 4,200 likes. No, that's impossible to. No one's seen that faster than I did 4,200 times, right? But that's what it does. It rings the marketing bell, and I'll just go down, I'll look, and we have people that have infiltrated this space that really are unqualified. Like, you could go to a hitting instructor, and he or she could be terrible, and you can go 0 for 21 on the weekend, right? You go to a bad pitching instructor, and you could end up in the operating room, a whole different. And that, whole different thing. And people, parents have gotten convinced that, unless you've played in the majors somehow, that you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, No, no. I'm sure Greg Maddox and I could get in a room, and in about 3 minutes, you're gonna know that Greg Maddox doesn't know anything about the human body at all compared to what I know. But I didn't win 375 games or however many win, but
Right.
I know how the shoulder is supposed to move, and more importantly, I know how it's not supposed to move. Right. And
Mhm.
I see these things, and they'll even tell, oh, I mean, I've been in fights with people. Nolan Ryan didn't throw hard. The radar guns were juiced. Roger Clement, I'm like, are you guys insane? They didn't throw. Like, are you kidding me? Like, but that's what they've got people to believe. And then, of course, the stats are down, right? Like,
Sure.
they're going to have to change. You won 250 games. You were a lock for the Hall of Fame. There's no one going to win 200. There's besides, Verlander and Kershaw and Max Scherzer. After those three guys, you're not going to see anyone who's going to win 200 games. So you're
No.
going to have to change all the numbers. So yes, the radar's gone up. Wins. I mean, you look at the back of Jim Palmer's baseball card, winning 20
Oh,
games 6 years in a row,
crazy.
or 20 and 30 complete games in a season. A whole division doesn't have 30 complete games in it,
No.
right? So the
No.
whole thing has changed, and people are saying it's for the better. I don't see it. I don't want to watch a World Series where the starter's out in the third inning
Right.
because he can't go. He can't go two times through the lineup. That to me, what is that? What is that? That's not pitching. That's throwing. We have a lot of throwers, very few
Mhm.
pitchers.
Yeah. And the analytics side has completely changed the game too.
100%.
I took a class with sports management worldwide taught by Ari Kaplan. You're kind of
Oh yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
big time guy, great guy. Learned a lot. And what I really learned in that is that analytics, I think, can be part of the story, part of the solution, but should not be the be all and end all. And it's amazing how many, I think hockey teams do this too. That where analytics just become the Bible. That's what they
Yeah,
go with, and it's just like, oh, and it's why you're seeing, like you said, pitchers starting a game and lasting 2 innings, and
yep,
you have 9 pitchers that come out of the bullpen. It's
right.
crazy.
And
It's
someone
crazy.
told me, analytics are going to get you to the playoffs. Analytics will never win you a championship, never.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is look at the Oakland A's, right? Like for years,
Mhm.
they got there, used all this, and couldn't get out. I mean, you have to. There are intent. I mean, you can't. A human being can't be a number,
Yeah.
right? It just can't. It can't. It could, like you said, be part of the solution or a part of the equation. It can't be the whole thing. It just can't. And it's showing. It's showing. I mean, last World Series, Yankees and Dodgers, they're showing Fernando Valenzuela because he had just passed away back in '81, throwing 10 or 11 innings in the one World
Mhm.
Series game. That'll never happen again.
Yeah.
Still effective in inning 10 and 11 because he's still there. Or Jack Morris throwing 10 innings in a playoff game when he was in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think I saw. Didn't Frank Viola do that too? Pitched
Viola
nine
did
and
it. Oh yeah,
ten, like
yeah. Oh, yeah. Even not so long ago, Mike Mussina came in out of a bullpen like on 2 days rest and threw like 5 or 6 innings.
yeah,
Just stuff that's never going to happen again. You know what I mean? And these guys don't throw strikes. They're like, oh, the game is long. The game's long because it's every batter is 8 pitches.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. It's definitely changed the game for sure. And going back to like the whole topic on like poor, clinics and people who are unqualified. I absolutely love. I follow Jeff Fry on
Yep.
social
Jeff and I
media.
just been on my podcast a few times.
Oh,
Yep.
has he? Oh,
Oh
he's
yeah.
he's awesome. I love his follow, and he goes after who's I don't even want to give the guy
Oh,
credit. The
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 the,
the,
cheat,
the
the
real
teacher man. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's laughable. It's laughable, but it's scary that parents are spending money sending their
hmm
kids to this
hmm
guy, and not everybody's built like Aaron Judge, man. Like I don't get it, but I'm so thankful for guys like Jeff Fry out there, kind of bringing the truth.
Yeah. He brings the truth. Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Yep. And of course, he like I have those trolls and detractors, and then once Jeff hits them with the truth, they end up going back down to mom's basement where she raised the rent, whatever it is, whatever they're angry about. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, good stuff. Now, specifically pertaining to hockey players, what are some of the more common injuries you see, or do you even treat hockey players as your
Oh
clinic?
yeah, yeah. So again, especially adolescents, pretty much have. I don't have any like college or adult, most of my hockey guys and most of my athletes anywhere in the adolescence, knee injuries, ankle injuries, back injuries, and then neck and shoulder injuries from. I know you want to touch on some of those from concussions, from landing on their back or whatever, where they're injured that way. So, but you'll get the same injuries in basketball. You get the same injuries in football. They're all kind of. There's nothing that's like sport specific that I've seen in 31 years. There's nothing like, well, that can only happen in baseball. That can only, yes, you're Tommy John. Well, even that, football people have done it in position players, so you can't even say that. But
sure,
there's very few injuries that are just sport specific.
Gotcha. What's the weirdest or most bizarre injury you've had come through your doors?
Well,
without giving any names away, of course.
Oh, no. So I've had a couple. I've had a guy with a tib-fib fracture because he was on a chairlift and the chair in front of him broke and slid back. Yeah. I've had a parachute injury where the chute didn't open. And a guy broke tons and tons of that. That was an incredible injury. But the weirdest and probably most unique because of all the moving parts, I had a young gymnast. Now, there's a ton of injuries in gymnastics. And in my last practice that I owned was McGovern Physical Therapy. They named it after me. I was so good. And that was insurance based. My one now is essentially non-insurance based. I don't take insurance. So my job was the fill-in after a while, meaning I had, the physical therapy space is, probably dominated by women. So I had a lot of women managers and directors. And I was the fill-in when people were on maternity leave. So there must have been something in the water because I went almost 4 years without a break. That's how many kids we had. Yes. So I saw this, my associate evaluated this woman, young girl, 13, 14. And she came in and it's just, like you look at someone and you're like, are you feeling okay? Like something just didn't look right. She had a fracture of her elbow. And I'm like, are you okay? Do you feel sick? Is everything all right? She's like, yeah, I kind of feel weird. I'm like, is your arm hurt? She's like, yeah, it hurts a little bit more than yesterday. And I'm like, all right, well, Aaron, she just kind of evaluated you. Nothing here. Do you mind if I take your bandage off and take a look? Well, yeah. So I peel the bandage off Ben, and I hear literally, see here, poof, this pocket of air, and here comes a wire through the elbow.
Oh, man.
And I was like, oh, my God. And she's like, she kind of saw it, and she's like, is that okay? And I'm like, no, not really. So, I called the surgeon and said, hey, we got a problem. You better get down to where you got to go because you've got a internal fixator that just came through the skin. So now we talk about parents. Now we go outside to the mom. You need to go to the emergency room right now. Dr. So-and-so is going to meet you there. Do we have to go now? Yes, there's a wire sticking out of your daughter's arm. Yeah, she's going right now. Yeah. So yeah, that was probably the weirdest thing. Yes, by far.
Yeah, not something you're going to sleep on.
Yeah, and that happens. There's not. I mean, that's just the way it could have come loose from the bone. Who knows? But it came right through her skin, and it was infected. So that's why she was sick.
Oh,
so
yeah, sure.
They had to clean it out. She had to be in all kinds of stuff to get cleaning out the infection. Yep. Poor girl.
I mean, the worst day in my industry is I spill a can of paint. I mean, that's we don't deal with stuff like that, man. But I
hear you. But hey, a can of paint can be disturbing too. Oh yes, yeah. I hear you.
All reasons why I'm not a doctor. But well, talking about, of course, kids going back to school, and there's always this argument of, because we know how hard it is you have aspirations to become a professional athlete or even a Division I athlete. It's so competitive. And you get, especially in hockey, I mean, if you don't get started at an early age and go to all the camps, all the travel teams, and constant hockey. In your estimation as a doctor, for a child to develop physically, is it best to play multiple sports, or if you're just so geared to try to make it to the NHL, to stick with that one sport?
That's always a $10 million question. And there's so much overlap in sports of athleticism, right? We have to be able to squat, rotate, jump, right? There's all these so I'm not big on you have to play multiple sports. Listen, you like baseball, you like hockey, that's what you want to do. I'm not going to force you to play basketball, right? Because you get hurt playing basketball.
Sure.
I think the missing link is we got to, again, go back to the basics. We got to dial it back. And this goes to kids like, I'm in an older generation. I'm 54. So my childhood was, okay, you had breakfast, go outside, see you at lunch. You had lunch, we'll see you at dinner. See you at dinner, make sure you're home before the street lights come on.
Right.
And you had to go out and play and learn movements. You made up games, you learn how to move. And I don't see kids today having that same fundamental movement because their play revolves around this. Not being outside. So they've got bad posture because they're do all this all day. And I don't think kids today are building proper fundamental movement. So the only time that they get movement is doing an organized activity. And if that movement is taught improperly, or the coach on the travel team just took the money and he's looking over here while everyone's working out over here, that is when we're going to have injury and poor movement. And every injury, I don't care if you fell out of a tree, has some component of poor movement involved with it. And that's what I really think the issue is.
Yeah, I mean, great point. It's always something that, I bet if we had 100 PTs in the room, 50 would say, go play multiple sports. And
100%.
Like yourself say, no, you can just stick with one. It's fine. But and talking about, again, a lot of overly aggressive coaches, poor coaching out there. What would you tell a parent if their child is constantly getting hurt due to perceived bad or aggressive coaching?
Yeah, I actually ran into that. I had a kid so I've got a whole, probably since we've last talked, I have a whole online training program for pitchers, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a kid who had a growth plate injury to his elbow. I had him right in the right spot. And coach, essentially he didn't take him out of the game when the kid was like, look, I'm done. I got nothing left. And the kid ended up separating his growth plate again.
Oh.
So, this is where mom and dad have got to come in and we have to know boundaries, right? And to me, when you have the C word, coach, you should know those boundaries, okay? No one cares, right? Hey, I won the 12-year-old Eastern Shores.
Yeah.
Who cares, right?
Yeah.
And I always tell parents, look, you can't get a college scholarship at 13 or 14, but you could ruin one. You could ruin one with injury, or your kid can get injured where they just give up the game because they're tired of being hurt, right? So you've got to give your kids the proper tools. That doesn't mean the proper Easton bat or Coho. They still make hockey sticks. This is dating myself. Maybe, or whatever. You have to give them the tool, and part of the tool is proper movement and training, like a proper movement coach or someone like me that you want to keep, because their body is a tool. We can't play any sports if this tool is broke. It doesn't matter how good our bat is, how good our glove is, how good the helmet is, how sharp our skates are. If this tool is broke, none of those tools work. So you have to address the big tool first. Proper physicals, they should be, you go to the dentist twice a year to make sure you don't have any cavities. If your kid's an athlete, he should be going to a sports-minded physical therapist at least once a year for a sport physical to go through all the major movements of the body, see how they run, see how they walk, how they land, how they jump, so that we can, because a physical therapist is going to be like, oh yeah, I don't like that right there. And if you didn't fix that, that could cause, I always use the analogy, look, if you're 300 yards away from me and I've got a gun, I've got a laser gun, and I move 1 centimeter to the left, I miss you by 100 feet. Same thing with injury. We have a small injury that we don't fix. That turns out to be a huge explosion a year down the road, a month down the road. And we could have fixed it immediately with proper preventative care of the major tool, which is the human body.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just thinking about like when I live here in Maine. Now I'm lucky to live in southern Maine where there's a lot of resources. We've got a really good school system, really great coaches and teachers, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of sections here in northern New England where not very good resources, a lot of volunteer type coaches who just may not know better. I do think parents sometimes struggle to advocate. Maybe they're feeling intimidated, don't want to step on the coach's toes. Then you have the complete opposite, where they're over aggressive parents. They're trying to butt in. But I mean, yeah, protecting your child first and foremost. I don't know why it's a topic, but it seems like I talk to parents all the time where they ran into this, and even up to we talk about these coaches, like you said, nobody gives a shit if you won some 12-year-old, little league, whatever, right? Yeah, as a coach,
Right.
like get off your ego. I had Coach Rick Kowalski come on from the Maine Mariners last week, and I asked him kind of the same question, like, what's more important, player development or winning? And can you do both at the ECHL level? And he's like, well, both are really important. I mean, we can win, but yeah, we're here to develop players and get these guys, to the A or up to the NHL. So even at his level, it's not all about winning. So if you're some youth coach, like, take it easy, man. like don't run these kids to the ground.
It's all about education. Like obviously some of these travel teams, these coaches are paid. Well, they're paid well. Some are, some aren't. But even in the general public, even adults, like again, it's just we're kind of programmed. I only see physical therapists when injured. I only go to orthopedic when injured, right? I go to dentist for preventative. It's just marketing, right?
Yeah.
Like you should be like, okay, you can live without your teeth. I mean, gum it. You can't, you can't play sports if you've got a chronic back injury that could have been prevented, right? So
Yeah.
it's just about getting, people that are looking over here. Hey, just look over here and see what that could do. It's just constantly about education and like what's the old an ounce of prevention, blah 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 blah. It's true, right? There's so many things that people say, oh well, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, you've been in here 3 months previous, this wouldn't be here, right? I would have fixed this, and then of course it takes longer, right? When you finally get injured, the rehab process takes longer, and that's the sad part. And I'm always fighting. I'm always marketing. You look at my market. I'm always marketing to that. Like let's get a checkup, right? Let's make sure we're good.
Preventative maintenance is so they can have, I had never really thought about that. The difference between going to the dentist or going to a PT or a chiropractor is
just once a year. Once a year, it'll change your life. It'll literally change your life. And I'm not talking kids, adults too. It will change your life. And guess what? The best thing that you can do is you leave there and say, hey, nothing was wrong with me. Great.
perfect.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah. I might be needing to go see a PT here soon. I've got a troublesome knee that just won't go away. So I've been talking to my chiropractor about that, and so as I'm sitting here talking to him, like I'm guilty of that too, for sure.
Yeah, I am too. But it's but that's an ounce of prevention goes a long way.
For sure. You've had your knee, of course, ACL, MCL tears, as you said earlier. But we do every once in a while. We hear a pro athlete a lot of times in football. They'll say they'd rather get a concussion than tear their ACL. Given all the awareness though around concussions, what are your thoughts when you hear a statement like that?
I think that person who said that statement has had one too many concussions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can grow cartilage in a jar. We can take your ACL from a cadaver. Okay, to date, we cannot do a lobotomy and change brains, right? Mm-hmm. So again, going back to the simplest fact, I look at concussions as a computer, right? And that's your motherboard. Unfortunately, there's only one motherboard. It can't be repaired. It can't be replaced. Your ACL is the keyboard. Throw that out and get a new one. Mm-hmm. We cannot get a new as of right now. We cannot get a new motherboard, and that motherboard controls everything. The post-concussion symptom. I'm not talking like headaches. Just depression, mood changes. That is your motherboard and hard drive. When that is disrupted, all different kinds of things, even out of my pay grade, can happen. The ACL we can fix. I can have you back on the ice in 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
You have a concussion, you might never be back on the ice. 8 months might be a home run to get you back that fast. So, I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement.
Well, yeah, and that's I was hoping you would say that because I absolutely disagree with it too. I'm just thinking of Brandon Carlo right now, our former defenseman in Boston, of course now in Toronto. I mean, that poor guy is one more concussion away from potentially being done.
Yeah, I mean, we've
It's too
seen,
bad.
we see it now with the quarter. I mean, the quarter. Why that kid from Miami is playing football, I have no idea. Like I saw him freeze up twice on national TV. I've done some work for the WWE. We know we have 10 or 15 years ago the Chris Benoit story, who literally killed his entire family, suffer of CTE. Afterwards, I looked at his brain. You have Aaron Hernandez,
Hmm.
double, triple murderer, CTE. Um, yeah, no one's ever done that from an ACL tear, right? So
Yeah,
it's just so much. There's so much about concussions in the brain that we don't even know about yet, right? It's just so. Yeah, we got to protect home base. We got to protect the motherboard.
yeah, for sure. We have had a lot of innovations, for player safety with equipment and just think better coaching. People like you doing the work that you do. I'm thinking back to that the guy in England who, because they're all wearing the neck braces now or the neck guards.
Hmm.
Was Johnson? I think his last name was the guy that got cut and died on the ice there in the
Oh, with
EIHL.
the skate, right? Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my
a couple
God,
years
that was
ago.
horrific.
So
Right.
it's great. It's great seeing a lot more players, wearing the safety gear on their wrists, on their necks. And I guess my question around this is, and I'm asking this very much for myself. I have a 5-year-old son.
Hmm.
I'm of course a huge hockey guy. I'd love him to play hockey. Is it if you had a 5-year-old boy, would you have him in hockey?
Yeah. I don't. I mean, with all the protective gear. So I know they're doing a lot with concussions. I'm watching the thing on HBO there with the Buffalo Bill, whatever, Hard Knocks, right?
Mhm.
All the quarterbacks have the big puffy helmet. There's no way to, and I'm not saying those are bad. Anything is good, but remember, your brain is swimming in fluid, and a concussion isn't from me hitting you, right? It's the brain hyper accelerating forward and then recoiling and hyper accelerating backward, and it's kind of like. I know this never applies to you, but when you're on the school bus and you're acting up like an idiot, which definitely applies to me, and that bus driver hit the brakes, what happened to you? You went flying forward and then flying backward. And there's no brace, no helmet in the world that is going to stop that from happening,
Right.
right? Um, the padding maybe stops a little bit of that, but until we figure out how to not suspend the brain in water, there's cerebral spinal fluid in our brain, and it's fixed, we're going to have concussions. Um, he could fall off his bike and get a
Yeah.
and get just as bad of a concussion. So what are you gonna do? So he can't ride his bike? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, you know, uh, maybe there's I don't know if I'd want my kid to play quarterback per se. Um, but yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't see hockey. There's certainly more concussions in football than there is hockey. So
Sure.
it's just again when something happens and how do we address it and how do we fix it. And the kid gets a concussion at 7, he's certainly more resilient than when he gets one at 27. So it's
Sure.
just um, you have to assess it correctly, treat it correctly, measure it correctly, and then make a educated decision on all the information that you have. But I mean, you can get a concussion playing soccer. You can get hit with a pitch and get a concussion playing baseball.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's out there. It's just you're never going to prevent everything 100%, right? You know.
Yeah, you can't live in fear, I guess.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
no. I mean, I remember years ago, and they did I'm a product of the '80s. We didn't wear helmets, elbow
Sure. Sure.
pads to
All
ride a
right.
bike, right?
Mhm.
Dad, how did you stop when you were sledding? Well, first of all, we don't sled on this golf course hill. We slid down the hill on this street and crashed into the car. That's how we
Yeah,
stopped.
right, right.
So
Exactly.
So it's just different. And I'm guilty. Came out. Where's your helmet? Where's your elbow pad? Where's your toe pad? I'm guilty. But
Sure.
things are gonna happen. Like you can't live in fear, like you said.
Yeah. Well, good. We tried to sign him up, but there's a summer hockey program up here, and mom and I tried to get him in, and we were just a little late to it. There was only two positions left, both goalies. So
Oh,
I turned to my
okay.
son and I said, "Do you want to be goalie?" He's like, "Absolutely not. Nope,
Oh,
don't
all
want to
right.
be
That
goalie."
was
But
it. All right.
I'm like, I get it. I probably don't want you to be goalie either. So
All right.
we may
We'll
we
wait.
may try
We'll
next
wait
year
till
with
next
that.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, just kind of give me kind of your top five do's, top five don'ts for your typical high school athlete as they get ready for fall sports.
Great. So do get a proper sport physical from not just your PCP, your turning. Yes, you need a workup from your PCP. We want to make sure your ticker's okay. You don't have any underlying heart abnormality. But we talk about moving. Get a proper sport physical to make sure that you are okay. You should be on a daily exercise program, 20 minutes a day on fundamental movements to keep your body healthy, flexible, and moving. You should get enough rest. I still think, I still think school starts way too early.
Mm,
My kid, 7:20. I'm like 7:20 in the morning. I mean, they just got home from sports. But you have to get enough rest. You have to eat correctly, right? Like there's so much out there now and I'm certainly no physical Adonis, but again, you've got to fill your tool with the proper nourishment, rest, lubrication, whatever it is to keep that tool functioning well. Um, Listen to your coaches, listen to your parents, and do the right thing. That's it's not nothing huge, but if I had to pick one thing that you can't live without, I think you need a daily exercise program to keep you healthy. We're doing too much sitting around on the phone.
mm,
Kids are walking around; they all have really bad posture,
yeah.
and it's just. And I think put this down for 20 minutes, or go on YouTube and say, "Good functional exercise routine," and hold it up and just do it. Just move. Move good for 20 minutes a day. It will change your life. It will keep you healthy. Don't just be moving because you got practice at 7 o'clock and that's the only time you moved all day.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay. What about
that's
some don'ts?
don't don't believe everything you see on social media just because it has the most likes. Investigate everyone that you work with. Everyone you work with should be fully free to give you every piece of information. Okay. Interview people you work with. Someone calls me, I say, "Yep, come on in, talk, see what's going." Like you did, come see what's going on in here. Um, so that's the biggest don't I would say. We're in a world of social media, and there's so much pressure. With that, I'd say that would be my biggest don't. And obviously, don't do anything dumb. Don't be taking drugs. Don't, and I don't mean drugs like coke. I mean shortcuts, right? We
Yeah.
know there's stuff out there. Um, and I'm not even really 100% sure that these kids should be doing all of these, GNC. Don't do any of that stuff without checking with your physician and making sure that your kidney function and liver tests are clear before we start adding things. You want to build muscle, eat another piece of chicken, right?
Right.
I don't think you have to go to GNC and get it out of a powder, right? And that would be, that I would check into all those first before we did anything like that.
When it comes to like weightlifting for kids, what's a proper age for a young athlete to start, really doing weight training?
I'd say right past puberty. Okay,
Okay.
so puberty is an enormous body goes through all kinds of changes. As we just saw, right? The
Mhm.
Little League World Series just finished. Any given team, you're going to see one kid at 5'1", the next kid at 5'11", right?
Right. Right.
So, I think you want to be past puberty. We want that spine more developed. Because, like I said, you could be lifting and moving one way at 5'2" and completely changed at the end of summer when you grew 5 inches, right?
Mhm. Sure.
So that's other than that, you don't need weights, right? Like Herschel Walker played in the NFL, never lifted. Bo Jackson never lifting weights, right? Push-ups, air squats. You can do just as much of a routine using your own body weight than you do. You don't necessarily. And I'm a huge proponent of Olympic lifting, but you have to be so precise in your movements to not hurt yourself. I would just tell kids to, parkour stuff, jump off one rock, land soft on another, right? There's so many things that they can do, but they don't have to be out, in the weight room. Go and get some fresh air, run around. That's plenty.
Kind of don't overthink it, right?
Correct. Yes, 100%. 100%.
Sure. Yeah, good. Well, that's what we have here. But before we take off, just want to ask you, what's coming up at at your clinic? Are you accepting new patients? Like anything new coming for you?
A couple things down. So my velocityrx.org, where I have the online pitching program, that's going strong. But I just demoed this summer a shockwave machine, and that's something you should look for up in Maine. So it's this new, it's been around a little bit, this new modality that uses high intense sound waves to essentially at the end of the day stimulate stem cells to have your body heal itself. Now, I have a hugely arthritic right knee. It's like brand new. I've been using this thing all summer.
Awesome.
So I have going to purchase one. I'm adding that to my practice. It's everything, acute, chronic, neuropathy. It literally helps speed healing with everything. So that's one thing I'll be pounding home this summer, this fall and winter. Absolutely.
Nice, awesome. Well, take Dr. Kevin's advice. If your body's hurting or if you're not hurting. Actually, if you're not hurting, get that preventative maintenance. Go find a good local PT. If you're in the Acton, Massachusetts area, Southern New Hampshire area, you are in Kevin's wheelhouse. So go check him out. Kevin, thank you so much for the time today. Really appreciate this.
Thank you, Ben, for having me. It was great.
Everyone, enjoy the Labor Day weekend and be watching for my video next week where I'll be previewing the Metro Division. And we will be welcoming back to the show Ace from Running with the Devils podcast very, very soon. Thank you for watching and listening. As always, if you're already subscribing to my channel, thank you. If you're new to the channel, thank you. Really appreciate that. If you haven't done so, want to stay up to date on all the upcoming shows, hit that subscribe button down below. Helps me out a lot. And until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.
Love it. Bye, everybody.